Should I put a headband on? Is this too? No. Maybe something more simple. Or is that too subtle? Would this be something in between? Nah. Oh man. Hi, my name is Yana. I'm a modern Ajumma, and I am continuing with my barrage of content because I really want to make this video today. I want to talk about our very good friend here on BookTube, Ben of Ben Reads Good, and his Read Good challenge on Storygraph. I'll link Ben's video talking about this challenge in the description box below. He's been doing this challenge for, I don't know, years? I really live under a rock, including with blinders, because I just never participate in anything like that, like a reading challenge. I mean, I had my first Storygraph buddy read with Grace last year for the first time. But I think that he's done this reading challenge before. And when he was talking about all the prompts for each month, it just sounded so fun. I immediately knew that I was gonna do this. And I just had such a fun time picking out what books for each of the prompts. And I should have made this video a lot sooner, but better late than never. And so this video is really a PSA about, first of all, the lovely Ben and his channel. I have been told many times that my channel is very soothing, my voice is very calm and soothing. If you think my voice is soothing, his voice is like butter, but in the key of British. And I just love his channel, love all of his videos, love the way he talks about books, and I implore you to join this reading challenge as well. Again, better late than never. I don't think that you have to read like your January book in January, for example. I'm pretty sure it's just like within the year. So yes, one can still join is my point. Also, I know that during my Vlogmas, I did my 25 for 25. Link will be in the description box below if you haven't caught it. I still fully intend to read through that list as well for this year. However, I made that video when I was particularly salty. And really, I mean, I enjoyed making Vlogmas, but like every video just felt like such a whirlwind. That whole month felt like a whirlwind. And I feel like I still need to make like a proper sit down, you know, like intentions for the year, reading intentions for the year video in daylight, because most of my Vlogmas talking clips are all like me hunched in the dark in like the corner of my room. So that's another reason why I just feel so compelled to make this video today before the end of January, whose prompt is Ann-uary. So January is Ann-uary. Read a book by an author called Ann, or with Ann in the title. So in my 25 for 25, I said that I would finally read Uwe Johnson's Anniversaries, which is like a mild, what is this, 1400? No, 1600. Like 1700 page little thing. I have had this in my Storygraph current reads for years. I'm pretty sure since like 2020. It's just a book that I saw somewhere hyped up, and 2020 was the year when I was a BookTube noob, and any book that vaguely interested me, I would just run out and go buy a copy, because what else were we doing at the time, at that year? And I remember enjoying Anniversaries, but I just did the dreaded thing of putting it down, saying maybe I'll pick it back up later when I'm back in the mood for it, and then I just never did. I do not consider this a DNF, because I still have every sincere intention to finish. It's just, it's so overwhelming. It's like you're looking at a wall of a book, a mountain to climb, and I never like to climb. So for the Ann-uary prompt, and I decided to finally tackle this book this year, if it's the last thing I do. I thought how perfect. I can knock this out in the month of January and get her done, you know, but so far I've only read that much and I had to put her down again. So I took this off and instead I replaced my Ann-uary pick with Anne Boyer's The Undying, which is another book that I've had on my shelves for years. I'm pretty sure this was a Katie Merchant influenced book. I started reading this and then I just had to, and I'm up to here now, and I had to put her down once more because I had to keep rolling out all this content before the end of the month. And then as soon as I get this video up, I'm gonna finish this out. If you give this time and just sit with it, she is a heavy subject matter, but very doable to read in like a couple sittings. So this will be my January pick for Ann-uary, and you will be seeing me talk about this in my January wrap up like in the next day or two. February is Flame-uary. Read a book with fire on the cover, an image of fire, or fire in the title. I picked Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson. This is another book that has been sitting on my shelf for years, and I'm pretty sure mostly I bought this for this really charming cover. I'm pretty sure I heard, you know, like one or two good things about it, and then I don't think anyone's ever talked about this since it came out. But typically any book with this Read with Jenna book club sticker on the cover, I tend to enjoy more than not. I'm excited to finally get to this soon and just continue to chip away at all of the unread books on my shelves. March is Ides of March. Read a book with 15 letters in the title. I picked Hurricane Season by Fernanda Melchor. I read Paradise by Fernanda Melchor last year. I immediately knew that I am in love with Fernanda Melchor. I must read everything else that she's written. Paradise made one of my favorite books from 2024, if you've seen that video. And Hurricane Season, I knew had to be like the next step for me. Luckily, it coincides that it has 15 letters in its title, so it fits for this prompt, and I can't wait to get to this. April is Read a Book nominated for the Women's Prize. Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell is one of those books that I have been saying for years now that I am going to read. I will finally read Hamnet this year, again, if it's the last thing that I do. I have heard nothing but good things about this book. I really know little to none about what it's about. I'm vaguely assuming that it's some sort of feminist retelling of Shakespeare, and you know that I've been all over the contemporary retellings lately, so this should have great timing going for it. And also I love this cover as well, this stunning royal blue with the gold. Yes, 2025 Hamnet, let's get it. I love this prompt. May is Déjà Vu. Reread a book or read an author you've previously read. The Waves by Virginia Woolf is the other book that has been on my current reads, like Goodreads and Storygraph shelf for years now, and I have read so far from Virginia Woolf a lot, like Mrs. Dalloway, which is probably my favorite, To the Lighthouse, A Room of One's Own, Street Haunting, and other writings, which I think is like the Oxford Classics edition, and Orlando. And just like with Sally Rooney, if you've caught the video that I was in, Nathan's recent video where we just mukbang and chat over our thoughts on Sally Rooney and Colleen Hoover, to name a few, but I was saying that I just don't understand what everyone sees in Sally Rooney. I don't understand what everyone sees in Virginia Woolf. Like, I admire her beautiful, flowery prose. I see that, I get it. But it's the subtext that gives me the icks. If I were to sum it up, to me, she just comes across like a very privileged white woman and, you know, like first wave feminist talking points, which, you know, at the time was fine, but I just don't see how it resonates now. And for me, I love a good prose, I love flowery prose, but that can only get you so far, especially when it's also conjoined with the icks. Every Virginia Woolf that I've read, slim as they may be, have been such slogs for me. Like, it's very dense, There's a lot to chew on. There's a lot to think about and unpack. So seeing the, I mean, this isn't that thick, but for Virginia Woolf, it's quite thick. Like, it might as well be anniversaries for me for Virginia Woolf. Hence why I've been taking my sweet time getting to the waves. I mean, really finishing the waves. I'm pretty sure what happened was I, like put it on my current reads list, had every intention to read it and just didn't. So I'm gonna put it out there and enshrine this as my May pick of the month. June, I love this prompt again, is Reading Shame Forgiveness Month. Read a book you're ashamed you haven't read yet, or that's been on your shelves the longest, or you just fibbed about having read. Again, I have said for years that I would read Villette by Charlotte Bronte, and I just never did. And I have this, like, maybe the most gorgeous of the Penguin, what are they called? Cloth bound hardcover. These guys, I have a lot of them, as you can see on my mantle, but I think this is the prettiest one. I love this teal and like lemon yellow color combination with this, what is this, ivy? And when I first started watching BookTube, it was with people like Alex and Claire and Matthew Sharapa, and I'm pretty sure they've all read Villette. I know for sure that Villette is a particular favorite of Claire's. And I absolutely love everything that Claire has said about books. I miss her videos, and I feel like reading Villette will more or less, of course, give me a fresh experience on this book that I'm reading for the first time, but also kind of reliving that 2020 year of BookTube, when I was hearing people talk about books that they were talking about at the time. And, Claire and Alex talked a lot about classics, and I don't really see too many booktubers talking about classics anymore. And I used to be a classics girly. I grew up as a classics girly, and I would always have a classic book going on, but I haven't lately. It's been new release here, lit fic there, which I loved. I've had such a blast with them, but I feel the need to get back into the classics more. And I mean classics with a C, as in nothing past the 19th century. So, as God is my witness, Villette is gonna be read this year. I mean, how pretty. I should do like a vlog, like a reading vlog, and have footage of me like, July is the month where we read a work in translation. And I picked Almond by Won Pyung-sun. Again, another book that I've had sitting on my shelves unread for years. I think this is another like 2020 book that I just purchased on a whim and never actually sat down to read. I know that this is one of those like BTS picked books. Maybe like they read. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they read Almond like in The Soup. I love that show. If any of you are like looking for a comforting, cozy show to watch in the summer, BTS in The Soup, both the first and the second, it's like an annual rewatch for me. I only allow myself to watch them once per year, otherwise I'll find myself just watching it nonstop. Yeah, in 2020 I was reading a lot of Korean contemporary fiction. Like I read Pachinko, that's Korean American, but I read a lot of Korean books. Like I think I read The Vegetarian in maybe this was all 2021, but I was reading so many good Korean works in 2020, 2021, and I really haven't since then. And I have a stack of Korean contemporary literature that are all unread, and I need to start chipping away at them. And what better choice than to start with Almond for this prompt. Also, I love this cover. It's so charming. I'm definitely more of a maximalist than I am a minimalist. So like I do love these, really pretty covers, but I also love me a good, like more simple color blocked cover. August is Read a Book by a Booker Prize winning author. I have The Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro on deck for this prompt. I read Never Let Me Go last year. I did not get it. I enjoyed Ishiguro's prose very much. It was so like beautiful and elegant and ephemeral even, but like the book itself, I didn't love it. But then that New York Times like 100 books of the 21st century list came out, and Never Let Me Go was in the top 10, both in the critics list and reader's choice. That book is beloved. Yeah, I have no idea why. But everyone has said that The Remains of the Day is very good. People usually have a lot to say about The Remains of the Day. Alex, whose book tastes and mine don't necessarily align. We don't necessarily agree about everything, but nevertheless, I still value his opinion highly. I just feel like his bar is very high, and therefore what he praises really says something and really means something, and he praised The Remains of the Day. So in my books, that really says something. So I can't wait to get to this, and I really hope to be stunned. This is more or less the Kazuo Ishiguro make or break book for me. September is Sapphire September. Read a book with a blue cover. I am 50% correct in this prompt pick. I am gonna read 9 Stories by J.D. Salinger. You know, now that I mentioned Alex, he also praised 9 Stories very highly. I've also been seeing several other booktubers mention 9 Stories, but like they have that vintage cover with the 9 squares on a grid with each of the story titles in the square, which looks absolutely fabulous. However, I have this mass market paperback copy, which I am totally fine with. I don't know if it's just me, but has vintage book collecting become a thing now? You know, like Charles does that. I know that Nathan loves and prefers like vintage copies. I don't know. Let me know what you think about that. For me personally, I am always gonna pick convenience. You know, I was at my Barnes & Noble grabbing a book, like a specific book, and while I was there, I saw 9 Stories. I had just seen Alex talking about 9 Stories, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna add to cart. But what I will say that I wish that we could go back to for publishing is I really miss these like short, small mass paperback copies. You know, like right now, this is the current size of a paperback book, and you know, I wish that we go back to the smaller size. It's so handy to just grab and go. More people are out and about traveling with a book in their bag, and you know, this is just a little bit too big. Let's go back to these guys, please. But yeah, maybe that's just me. Like, I would just imagine carrying around a vintage paperback like that in a bag. It would just shred to smithereens. I audibly guffawed when I heard this prompt. October is Ug-tober. Read a book with an ugly cover. And I immediately thought of Perfume by Patrick Suskind. So this is the US standard paperback copy, and I absolutely abhor it. I know that there are like worse book covers than this out there. I don't necessarily know why, but for me, this is a little particularly egregious to the point where it's keeping me from reading this book. I watched the film because I love Ben Whishaw, huge fan, and I had no idea that it was a film adaptation. And so I looked up the book, saw the cover, and I was just a little bit stopped in my tracks, because I don't know why else I wouldn't have just immediately read it upon purchasing. So yes, another book I've had sitting on my shelves unread, even though I really like the story. Like, what a wonky, weird story. It's a historical fiction. I love historical fictions, but I haven't read a historical fiction in so long. And I will finally get to this. Like, I have every expectation that as offbeat that movie was, the book can only be that much more so. So very and highly anticipated. November is No Comfort November. So like, read something outside of your comfort zone. If you're a lit fic girly, then try a sci-fi or a fantasy. But for me personally, I wanted to take this like extra literally, because I picked A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. From everything that I've heard about this book, I'm just imagining like the worst trauma porn imaginable. My friend has just read this and she laughed when I told her that I picked this for the No Comfort November, and she was like, you're definitely gonna get no comfort from here. And this is just the book for me that I feel everybody in the world has read except for me. And I finally want to tackle this. I'm not at all like intimidated by the size of this book. I'm really more hesitant to read this just because of how love it or hate it this book seems to be. And I want to know which side I will be on. And finally, December is Decem-bros, read a book about brotherhood, which just made me laugh. How cute. And also, how cute is my pick for this prompt, because I am going to read The Return of the King by J.R.R. Tolkien. Tell me a book more about brotherhood than that one. I realized that when I was reading this trilogy for the first time, I think it was back in 2023, or was it 2024? No, 2023. I loved it absolutely. I am a huge fan of the films. I rewatch that movie every year, typically in February, because I like to think of the 9 members of the Fellowship as my 9 Valentines. I finally got around to reading the books themselves and was really delightfully surprised. Even though I have watched this movie so many times for almost all my life, my adult life, I still felt so much like newness and wonder and excitement in the books themselves. If you're just a movie watcher like I was, you will have no idea who Tom Bombadil is or what he's all about. And also just the iconic lines just really hit a different way. One of the biggest takeaways that I had from reading the books is the character of Frodo. Because, Frodo, you just automatically see Elijah Wood as that character, and he has that, like youthful visage. And in the books, I did not see Elijah Wood at all. And instead, I saw like a person of like more experience and more leadership and like a really good man. I don't really get that sense from Elijah Wood's Frodo in the movies. Because, everybody talks about Sam in the movies, but in the books, I just saw the strength of Frodo's character so much stronger. So many, wonderful surprises in that way from reading the books. And I read The Hobbit in 2024, that's what it was. And I realized during all of this that I forgot to get to The Return of the King. Like, I read The Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers. I was having such a good time with them all. And for whatever reason, I forgot to get to The Return of the King, which I do own as an audiobook read by Andrew Serkis, which is arguably the best way to read these books. So that's what I have slated for December, which I may or may not be able to keep myself from reading earlier than December. However, I might just have to like edge myself and just be patient and tell myself, no, this will be like a good, cozy beginning of the month of December type of reading choice. So there's also a bonus component, a wild card, Agatha All Along, which is dedicated to the late Alice and the Giant Bookshelf, who unfortunately I never got to know. And it's such a pity because she was such a big fan of Agatha Christie, as I am as well, and this wildcard component is in memory of her. You can swap out any of the month's prompts for any Agatha Christie book. You can only do this once, and Ben describes it in his video exactly how you use this, but I just went ahead and made the choice to read the 13th book, and what better book to pick for this? The 13 Problems. This is my copy that I bought when I was young, back in the 90s, I think. This is the publisher's page. It has since been reprinted as the Miss Marple, The Complete Short Stories. I've read this book many times over my lifetime, but there is a recent audiobook for this that's read by Juliet Stevenson, whose audiobook performance is probably my absolute favorite. I think the audiobook came out like last year or maybe a couple of years ago, but that is the book that I chose for this prompt. And if you are Agatha Christie curious, it's a wonderful excuse to select your first Christie, or if it's just been a while since you've read an Agatha Christie, this is another great excuse to pick one back up and read it. And I will be talking about this in my January wrap-up. Another reason why I really wanted to make this video is because one of my New Year's resolutions is to be more engaged in my communities, both IRL and on here, parasocially. And I have talked about other booktubers in my videos, and I would always list their handle in the captions, but I would never link their channels because I didn't want to bother them. And I should stop that. One of the things that Nathan and I were talking about was how many people that he knows and has met up with. And I was like, oh my God, how? And he was like, what do you mean? Just DM them, just talk to them, say hi. Like, what's the worst that can happen? And just at the time, I was like, oh my God, so much. I could never. But I need to stop being that way. I, need to stand up straight and say hi. So hello, I love you all. And part of being engaged is joining in things like these reading challenges and reading groups and book clubs, and make more of an effort to be more vocal in booktube that I love, that we all love, since we're all here and we're chatting in the comments, and which is another thing that I need to do more of. Like, I watch so many videos and I don't really comment on them because I'm telling myself like, no, that's a stupid comment, don't say that. Don't waste your time. I shouldn't think that way either. This is just another PSA of me telling you, if you also have that mentality, if you also feel that way, don't. It's not true. It's not helping you or anyone else. Like, don't discount yourself. Like, you have no idea how other people will perceive you and what you have to say. So yes, I am here. I'm saying hi. And I love you all. And I hope that you join this challenge. Isn't it so fun? And, if you haven't already, follow Ben. He posts a lot more regularly than I do. And as always, for every single one of my videos, really, if you have any thoughts or comments or suggestions or recommendations based on all of these books, please let me know in the comments. Comments are the best part about booktube. I don't know why I tell myself no, don't comment, they don't want to hear it. No, just say what you want to say. Be heard, be brave. And not that this is a tag video per se, but I do want to tag a couple people to hopefully join the reading challenge, and also hopefully make their own videos as well, talking about their book picks for these prompts if it's not too late. If anything, some more content to put out. Having fun talking about a random list of books. So I want to hit up Sophie because, first of all, I already know that she is participating in this challenge. She has mentioned that in her previous videos. But I would love to know the books that Sophie has picked for each of these prompts. Sophie and my book tastes don't necessarily align. She reads way more classical books. I mean, there are more overlapping than not, but she does skew way more toward classics and more highbrow lit fic. And I would love to know what books that she's picked for these prompts. Second, I would love to see what Kieran would pick for these prompts. Same thing, our tastes don't necessarily align. We don't read all of the same exact books. I want to say she skews a little bit more fun non-fics and new releases and contemporary fiction, but ones that I've never heard of before. I'm so intrigued to see the titles that she would pick for these prompts. And I'm also really curious to see what Cass would pick. I think Cass reads more fun books than I do. She's also a huge lit fic girly and also has very interesting non-fic picks. I think her book choices are ones that are more popular with everyone else. I am always so interested in hearing what she has to say about the books that she reads. All three of these lovely booktubers whose opinions I highly admire and hold in great esteem and invite to make their own videos like this. And thank you so much for watching. You will see me again very soon.